Hello and welcome to week 12, our last week of classes. Well, more or less anyway. Welcome. Glad you made it. Let's start as we always do. Let's get straight into meditation. So taking your seat such that you're comfortable, but hopefully not too comfortable because you've got to stay awake. So generally advised to be sitting up straight unless that's not comfortable for you. Feet flat on the floor if you're in a chair. And take a nice deep breath in, all the way in. And then let it all the way out, completely emptying your lungs. Let's do that again. Nice deep breath in, but this time hold it at the top for a moment. And now let it out very slowly. Just starting to pay attention to your breath. And one more nice deep breath in. And once again, let it out very slowly. Just releasing any tension you're holding in your body, your shoulders, your hips, your belly, or your face. And then allow your breathing to return to normal. And just noticing what's on your mind, what you've brought to tonight's class. What are the pressures, responsibilities, concerns, problems, to-dos, relationships? Just noticing these pressures on your awareness and on your mind. And then hopefully by becoming aware of them, you can just allow them to just go on hold for the next 90 minutes. I'm sure they're all important and worthy of your attention, but you can perhaps serve them best by taking a break. For 90 minutes, just resting your attention in meditation. So see if you can give yourself permission to let all that stuff just fall away for the next hour and a half. And start to direct your attention towards your breathing. Noticing this in-breath and the out-breath. And noticing the pause in between at the top of the in-breath at the bottom of the out-breath. We're just resting our attention and our focus on each moment of each breath. Each in-breath, countless tiny little moments. And we're just observing each moment and letting it fall away, watching the next moment, in this continuous flow of attention, just resting in the here and now, this breath, this moment, this little piece of now. Just resting in open awareness. Noticing your breathing, Noticing your body. Just resting in each moment. And of course, if you're anything like me, your mind is already trying to take your attention elsewhere. And that's normal and fine. It's part of the process. And when you notice that it's happening, just notice that it happens. Your mind is restless, taking you elsewhere, thinking about something else. Notice it, and then very gently, without trying to fight it, just very gently redirect your attention to rest in the here and now, just resting on this breath. Noticing each moment, each moment, each moment. We'll do this for about 10 minutes. We're about 3 minutes in. Just really encourage you to be very gentle with yourself when the mind does what it does. It really doesn't mean you're doing it wrong or you're bad at meditation. It just means you have a mind. So be very gentle with yourself, and very gentle with your mind. You can't really fight it. You can merely become more aware of it, more familiar with it. When you notice it's taken you somewhere, very gently just smile and then redirect your attention over and over and over again back to this moment right now. Just simply sitting in awareness of the unfolding of time from moment to moment to moment. Noticing this moment of your breath, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next. Nothing to do, nowhere to go, nothing to solve. Just aware of the moment. Just a few minutes left. Just encourage you to keep persevering, no matter how many times the mind goes off in a direction or how long it's been in a certain direction. Just keep returning back, turning your attention back to this moment now. And take a deep breath in. And let it all the way out. Just making sure you're connected to the moment, still noticing your breathing. Noticing the sensations in your body that are happening right now. Some obvious ones, probably like what you're sitting on. Some subtle ones, like where you can feel the air against your skin, the floor under your feet, where your clothing is touching. And just for a few seconds, just invite you to notice what the emotional feeling in your body is right now. Not trying to change it, wish it was something else, suppress it, or having a conversation about it. Simply, if you can, just opening yourself up to simply feel that feeling and become aware of it. Whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, just for a few seconds, simply noticing it. And take a deep breath in. And let it all the way out. When you're ready, open your eyes and connect yourself back into the room. So, week 12, last week. We started at the beginning of April. The world was full of doom and gloom. We were all pretty terrified. It was a pandemic. It was just really unfolding, or at least the implications of quarantine were just unfolding. And I made this rather stark prediction then, which I got a few questions about, saying, well, next 12 weeks it's going to get a lot worse. Well, I guess in some ways it has, and in some ways it hasn't. I mean, clearly about 100,000 more people have died since then, just in this country alone. And the quarantine has brought up an awful lot of issues for an awful lot of people. It's put a lot of pressure on families, relationships. People who are alone have been very alone. We've all learned Zoom. And we've become very, I don't know whether it's as a result of the quarantine, but somehow the world has woken up to some of the racial issues in our country. And there's been a lot of horrible things that we've finally perhaps become more aware of, and finally a lot more people seem to want to do something about. And sadly there's also been a lot of protesting, and who knows what the impact of that is going to be on the virus, but hopefully we'll see some change. So it's been a strange 12 weeks. But I hope you've gained something from these meditations. I hope it's served you a little bit in these very difficult times. Mostly my take on meditation is that meditation is always pitched as being for stress relief. When I say to people I teach meditation, they go, oh, I could probably use that. It's really good for stress. And I try not to roll my eyes, because it is good for stress. But for me, it's way more than that. And so that's my big thing is, yeah, okay, it's good for stress, but it's good for everything. This will enhance every single aspect of your life. It's like really good. Relationships, career, happiness, performance, creativity, you name it. It's going to help you. If you do this silly little exercise where you pay attention to the present moment, all sorts of strange things can happen. So I try and be very realistic and stay real world, hence real world meditation. Like, this is meditation for the real world. But this is an introduction to meditation course, and the truth is that meditation comes to us from these religious traditions, from these spiritual traditions. And it always seems to me it would be rather disingenuous if I didn't at least address where it comes from and why people do it. So I could call this, if I was being bold, I would say this is meditation for God. but sort of probably rather like meditation for spirituality or meditation for contemplative practice, depending on how serious I want to be. So I want to talk a little bit about that. But I want to give it a little bit of context because this is obviously a big topic. And I want to start by saying a lot of this is quite theoretical. So I like to talk about what I know about. So I like to talk about how I know what meditation can do, what it does, how to make it work for you, different practices, different techniques, how it works for relationships, how it works for career. I love that stuff because I can talk from my own experience. And the moment we start talking about spiritual experiences, we are talking about something ineffable. And I'm pretty uncomfortable generally talking about this kind of stuff because it's really open to misinterpretation and all sorts of problems. And I say that as somebody who did theology at university. And one of the things about doing theology at university is that the first thing that happens, people say, oh, what are you studying? You go, oh, theology. And they go, oh, are you going to be a priest? And that's, an innocent enough, reasonable enough question, I guess. It just gets a little bit tedious after you've heard it hundreds of times. So you go, no, I'm not going to be a priest. And then they're a bit confused and they sort of say, well, do you believe in God? That seems like the next obvious question. Like, okay, you've got a theology person. Oh, let's try and talk about what they do. They must surely believe in God. The problem is that when you've been studying theology even for about 10 minutes, you realize that question is not quite as simple as it seems. It seems like it's a yes-no answer, right? Either you believe in God or you don't believe in God. I mean, there's a bunch of people in the middle who sort of, they aren't sure and they're agnostic and they're hedging their bets. But there are definitely people who go, yes, I believe in God. And there are people who definitely go, no, I definitely believe there is no God. And so it seems like a yes-no answer. But it's actually a lot more tricky. And the reason it's tricky is because it depends what you mean by God. I don't know how many people there are on this call, but let's just say there's about 50. Even the atheists are going to have different ideas about what that God is that they don't believe in. What type of God it is that they don't believe in. And the people who do believe in God, if there are 50 of you, there are 50 different interpretations of what that word might mean, if you believe in it. So when people ask me that question, I didn't really know what to say. I didn't really know how to answer it. So I always usually just throw it back at them and sort of say, well, what do you think that question means? And they look at me like I'm very odd. But anyway, that was about 30 years ago. I left university, and 30 years later, I still don't really know how to answer that question. And the reason is that there are a lot of different, could mean many different things. For some people, God is a daddy figure, very much like the Michelangelo painting in the Sistine Chapel. He's got white hair, a beard, and he's very wise and paternal, and he looks after us, and he listens to our prayers. And if you pray hard enough, then the Dallas Cowboys will win on Sunday. So that's, one view of God. And then there's another sort of deeply mystical approach, which just sort of says there is some kind of force in the universe that we cannot speak of, but we believe is there. There is some underlying ordering principle, perhaps you might say, some kind of like Star Wars-esque force that combines and unites everything. And we don't really know what it is, but we believe there's something. So between, guy in the clouds who's looking down on you and approving or disapproving of what you do, and some kind of force in the universe, there's a lot of wiggle room. So I would say I probably don't believe in the guy in the clouds who's kind of like human-like with a beard and white hair and helps the Dallas Cowboys. And I probably do believe there's some kind of forces in the universe that we don't really understand and know about. So where does that leave me? Well, the other thing that happens when you do theology is you study a lot of the reasons why people believe in God. Why might people believe in God? And you can look, you go back through history and you see people worship the sun and the moon. And these were very important, these huge heavenly bodies in the sky, and they mattered. Whether you got rain or not seemed to be random. And they tried to place some kind of order and meaning on these what appeared to be random events. So they would believe that perhaps they had angered the gods, they'd angered the sun, and that's why there was no rain, or they'd angered the rain god and hence there was no rain, or whatever, or they'd done the right things and they got a good harvest. So they would perhaps try and ascribe order to what is chaos, and they would do that through these external forces, and that might be why people came up with this concept of God. Sort of makes sense. It's like the aspect of not understanding the world, but then science kicked in and started to explain some of these things, and that role for God started to diminish more and more. So, if you only believed in God as being able to explain the unexplainable, that slowly gets chipped away as things become explainable. So that's one, perhaps, reason why people believe in God. Another aspect is perhaps like this whole fear of death. We're terrified. We don't like this idea of annihilation, that it's all nothingness. We're just here for this blink of an eye, and then we sleep to be no more. And somebody comes up with some metaphysical theory in which there's heaven and an afterlife or reincarnation or whatever, and we go, oh yeah, I prefer that. So perhaps it's just fear of death. Some sociologists will suggest, we need order in our society, and by placing this external, overseeing body like a god that is keeping an eye on everything, that will sort of encourage people to be moral and good and help the society. So it's a vehicle of social control. So we pass down these morals and ethics. And even if nobody's watching, God is watching. So it's designed to keep people in line. It's another theory. Karl Marx, of course, would suggest that this is really an invention of the rich in order to try and convince that the poor, that they should not overthrow their rich masters, and the opiate of the people, he called it. So that, yes, your lot in life is really miserable, but don't worry, because when you die, it's all going to be great. So that would keep people under the thumb of their capitalist oppressors. So there are lots of different theories about why people might believe in God. And as a result of those, if you follow that, you can sort of see the opposite of that, and you sort of see, okay, clearly these don't really make any sense, so therefore there is no God. And there's definitely a whole bunch of atheists who see these explanations and they go, yeah, that makes sense. These are rational explanations about why belief in God might have arisen. And they can see that these reasons are not needed anymore, and they're fallacious. So therefore, there is no God. And that might be true. Who knows? I'm not claiming that I know. But there is another alternative. And that is that people throughout the centuries, from all traditions, all different cultures, some people have gone off and done these weird contemplative practices. Some people have just had spontaneous experiences. But there has been this consistent thread throughout history across all cultures of some people, a few people, having very peculiar experiences. And it might be that they're mad, or possessed by demons, or just taking lots of hallucinogenic drugs, or all of the above. But there has been this aspect where throughout history, some people have said, there's something there. And there's a lot of consistency in the way it's described. There's a lot of differences in the way it's described too. But some of the consistency is that people find it very difficult to describe. The ineffable. It's not very easy to describe anything that's ineffable. I think it means something like impossible to describe. So that's not very much help. But they talk about the transcendent nature, talk about unity. They might talk about, some people will have this experience and interpret it via a theistic interpretation. So for some people, this powerful experience leads them to some interpretation of another, like God, or some kind of God, or some aspect of God, or an angel, or something. But for them, there is some sense in which there is something other than them which is incredibly powerful. And then on top of that, you could weave all sorts of metaphysical ideas and thoughts and put all sorts of attributes onto God based on this experience. Some people don't see it as God. Some people see it as, like the Buddhists, for example, or some of the Eastern traditions, will see it as revealing the ultimate of reality, of what reality really looks like, and of what the self, what you really look like. So there are a number of different theories as to what this experience means. And academics and theologians will spend an enormous amount of time dissecting these different interpretations and these different descriptions, sort of saying, oh, finding the similarities and finding the differences and saying, oh, is it possible for these experiences to be the same across different cultures? And there are all sorts of different ways that the academics will take apart these descriptions. And then theologians will take them apart. And then people will do PhDs on PhDs on PhDs about these experiences. None of that I find terribly interesting. I mean, it's not completely uninteresting. But for me, the far more interesting piece is the experience. What is this experience? I mean, if you were told about a rose, that it had this incredibly beautiful scent, you could go and read a whole bunch of books about what it smells like. You might even find some poetry. You might find some art or a song or a piece of music that is inspired by the smell of the rose. And you could do that. You could read these descriptions. You could probably write a PhD about somebody else's description of what it is to smell a rose. But wouldn't it just be easier to smell the rose? And then you wouldn't need any of those descriptions. So potentially, and I'm just throwing this out there as a theory. I mean, obviously I don't think I'm giving too much away to say, I think there's some honey down this hole, but this is just a theory. It's just a theory, and it's just, one theory. And just like the other billions of theories about God and spiritual experiences and religion, it's probably wrong, or at best approximate and improvable. But there is the possibility that there's this experience. And that's why, for centuries, across all different cultures, people did these contemplative practices, was to have this experience. And then to know for themselves what that experience was about. And then maybe it is interesting to read other people's descriptions and sort of say, oh yeah, I see that. Now I see what that means. Now I see what ineffable means. Now I see what the concept of no self or emptiness or nirvana, I see what this might mean, having had the experience, which is a whole lot better than just sort of thinking about it and thinking about somebody else's description of it, I think. So that is why people have done this meditation thing for centuries. Because the sense is you need to get very still. You need to get very quiet. Like all the stuff that goes on in here, the way in which we create our universe. So we perceive the universe and then we interpret it through our mind. And our mind is awfully clever. We think we can solve everything, solve all the problems. If we're so smart, why are we so miserable? We try it. We think this can solve everything. When we start thinking about God, we think, oh, I think God is this, or I think God is that, or I think there is no God because of this, and I think people believe in religion because of that. We're so smart. Well, the contemplatives and the mystics will say, okay, shut up. You're not going to find anything of ultimate value there. But if you can shut up for a bit, if you can get this to quieten down, to get out of the way, if you can see reality as it really is, without all of this mental mumbo jumbo, there's a cool experience to be had. There's possibly a divine experience to be had. There's possibly profound mystical understandings about the nature of reality, yourself, the universe to be had. But you have to get quiet. And there are a number of different practices for doing this. One of them is this practice we've been doing with the breath, where really what we're doing is we're really placing our attention simply in the present moment, just as purely as possible. And it seems like nothing's happening. It's like, what could be so great? Because this wants to be in control. And once we get this not in control, it starts to panic. It's like, whoa, I don't understand. I need to be running the show. I need to run this experience. And you're like, no, I'm going to go back to the breath. I'm going to rest in the present moment. And little by little, the more we do this, even if we only get to experience the present moment for a second here, or even just half a second there before the mind does its thing and kicks in, every single time we touch into that present moment awareness, we discover more about what's there. And we get more and more pure in our way of seeing reality without the interpretation of our mind. And there are all these things that get in the way of our interpretation: our upbringing, our parents, our schools, our culture, our media, our feelings, and the way we respond to our feelings. All of these things cloud our ability to see reality as it is. And the mystics will say, ultimately, if you can really see reality as it is, with no mental modifications, that's a pretty awesome place to be. And then all sorts of things unfold. There are other practices, like mantra meditation, or the chakra meditation we were doing a couple of weeks ago, where they seem to do something to our consciousness whereby they'll actually get us over the fence. It's like, to me, I think it's sometimes a little bit like talking about climbing up a mountain. And there are different ways to go up a mountain. One is you can learn all about climbing. You can learn about crampons and ropes and different mountaineering techniques and all that kind of stuff. And then you can learn how to climb the mountain slowly, 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 and you get better and better. And then eventually you will find yourself able to climb to the top of the mountain. And that, I sort of think, is a very valid, good way of doing it. That sort of step-by-step approach. And that is breath meditation. In learning about present moment awareness, little by little, we're learning more and more. We're becoming more familiar with our mind, more familiar with the present moment, more familiar with this ability to experience the present moment just as it is, without our mind kicking in. Even if it's little by little, just getting a little bit better at that climbing thing. But there are some meditation techniques that just are more like a helicopter. And they just take you up so you can see what the view from the top of the mountain looks like. And I am a big fan of the helicopter techniques. That isn't to say that I think they're the best techniques. But sometimes there is value to seeing where it is we're going, to having some deeper, profound insight into what the state of mind looks like and feels like at the top of the mountain. So while I'm a huge fan of what's known as mindfulness meditation or awareness meditation, because I think it's incredibly valuable for all these aspects of our lives, I also think it's incredibly valuable to sometimes just take a trip straight to the top of the mountain. And the technique we'll do at the end is one of those techniques that has the potential, in theory, to just transport you into a different state of consciousness, to see reality differently than you do moment to moment, usually. So we'll do that as the last one. But there are other meditation techniques that are based on this idea of theories based on people's experiences, but theories about what that true nature is. So if you get rid of this mental thing, you get rid of all your thoughts and ideas and beliefs and concerns and worries and prejudice and all that stuff. If you get beyond all of that, deep down at your core, what is your true self? Who are you really? And you probably have some sense that who you are truly is not who you are every day. There is a deeper part of you that is wiser and stronger and more courageous, more loving than you are generally. And the more in tune you are with that, the better you feel, the better you are as a person, the closer to your true identity. And so there are theories about some universal aspects about that true identity. While we all might be unique, there are some aspects of that truth, that core that is universal. And some of them are things like kindness, compassion, love, courage, generosity, wisdom. So there are meditation techniques that sort of say, hold on a second, most of the time you're not being your true self. So let's kind of fake it until we make it. That's one way of looking at it. Another way would be saying, let's cultivate those aspects of yourself that are closer to who you truly are. And the more you tap into that, and the closer you get to who you truly are, the better off you'll be. And then slowly, as you develop this closeness towards your true self, you'll get more and more of an insight into it. And you will become, it will transform you. You will become closer and closer on a day-to-day basis to your true self. And things like the loving kindness meditation, I think that's sort of the category they fall into. They're helping us touch into our true self, like at least come from that place a little bit more. We're getting back in touch with our true self via those exercises. So let's start with that now. So let's do some loving kindness meditation. So once again, sitting up straight, or as straight as you can. I want you to be comfortable, but able to hold concentration. It's after 8 o'clock at night. Don't want you falling asleep. Hope you sleep really well later tonight, but for now, let's hope you stay awake. So sitting up, comfortable but alert, and take another nice deep breath in. And let it all the way out. And once again, take a nice deep breath in, but this time hold it at the top for a moment. And let it out very slowly. Just releasing any tension you're holding in your body. Allowing your breathing to return to normal. See if you can release any expectations or ideas, agendas, thoughts, worries about the meditation itself. See if you can just give yourself permission to just do it as well as you can. You won't do it perfectly. I won't do it perfectly. We're just going to do it as well as we can. I'd like you to bring to mind the person that you love the most easily. Bringing this person to mind and just opening your heart towards them as wide as you can. For some reason, we don't always practice our love. We don't express it. We hold back. And at least for this exercise, we're really trying to get in touch with this powerful, kind, generous, loving part of ourselves. So really open yourself up towards this person, wishing them well. And just repeating your phrases, whatever language you like, whichever phrases you like. Tonight I'll be using the phrases, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you live with joy, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you live with joy, may you be happy, May you be healthy. May you live with joy. So picturing your person, opening your heart as wide as you can. It feels good to love. Can occasionally be painful, but it's still always good to love. And just repeating your phrases. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with joy. Just keep repeating your phrases. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with joy. Now for the second part of the exercise, seeing if you can direct that same degree of kindness, generosity and love towards yourself. For many of us, this is quite difficult. We're very aware of our flaws and our failings, our imperfections. So you may have some resistance, and if you do, that's fine. It doesn't mean you're broken or wrong, or just notice that there is that resistance. It's very common. And just see how much kindness, generosity, and love you can give yourself. Find out where your boundary edge is, and just play with it a little bit. See if it's a really hard boundary, or perhaps it might actually soften as you repeat your phrases. Sending yourself as much kindness as you can, and repeating your phrases. In my case, may I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with joy. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with joy. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with joy. For the third part of the exercise, bring to mind what's known as the neutral person. Somebody that's in your life, but you don't know them very well. Might be a neighbor. Might be the person, the checkout, the supermarket. Just bringing this person to mind, and although you don't know them, you can practice opening your heart completely to this person. For no reason other than that they're another person with hopes and dreams and fears, strengths and weaknesses, just like you. So see if you can open your heart as wide as you can to this person, and at the very least just repeating your phrases. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with joy. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with joy. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with joy. And for the fourth part of the exercise, we bring to mind what's known as the difficult person. We're just going for somebody, we're just trying to stretch ourselves a little bit. Find a boundary that we find our resistance. So it's best to use somebody, not that you hate, but just somebody you find somewhat irritating or annoying. And see if you can open your heart towards them in spite of that. This isn't to forgive them. It's not to accept their behavior. It is to recognize that they're human and flawed. They make mistakes. Just like we are. Just try our best to open our heart as much as we can towards them, and at the very least just repeating the phrases. If you just repeat the phrases with this person in mind, things start to soften. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with joy. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with joy. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with joy. Okay, and for the last part of the exercise, we open our heart to try and realize its capacity that is way bigger than we probably realize. We bring to mind all beings, billions of people on the planet, trillions of animals. We open our heart to wish them well. Not to try and work out how or the logistics or the practicalities, just opening our heart with courage to wish all beings well. The theory being we have this capacity at our core, but we override it with all this thinking and beliefs and ideas, and we're just touching into that core by opening our heart completely. And at the very least, just repeating the phrases. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings live with joy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings live with joy. Just keep repeating your phrases. And take a deep breath in and let it all the way out. Just connect yourself back into your body, perhaps by wiggling your fingers, wiggling your toes. And when you're ready, open your eyes and just connect yourself back into your room. So the difficulty with doing mystical meditation techniques is it kind of makes it very difficult to think. So I don't know if you have that experience, but if you do, I'm having that right now. So I'm trying to remember what it was I was going to say. But anyway, yes, it does. These techniques, they can take you out of your head. So where was I going to go? Oh, yes, maybe I can remember. I don't know. I did want to talk a little bit that this has been across all different traditions. We think of it sometimes, I think, as being an Eastern thing, like Buddhism and Hinduism, and there's no doubt that we owe those traditions a huge amount of gratitude for their experiments with consciousness and with meditation and contemplation and all the things that they've learned about the mind, and they've done a lot more perhaps of the scientific hard work around consciousness with these techniques. But nevertheless, there have been throughout Western traditions, in Judaism, in Christianity and Islam, there have been these mystical pieces that have explored these experiences, these transcendent experiences of something. And of course, they interpret those experiences through the lens of their culture and their beliefs and their religion. But there is a huge consistency in that experience. In the Christian tradition, obviously there was Jesus in the beginning who went into the desert or at the top of Mount Tabor. And again, one of the common aspects of these is that it's very rare you hear of people having some kind of spiritual experience at a cocktail party discussing restaurants or movies. It tends to be when they're alone, when they're still, when there is some experience of stillness and quieting the mind. So it's often in the desert or in a mountain, or in the Buddha's case, under the Bo tree, just sitting there for days on end. Meister Eckhart, 13th century, 14th century, nowadays is considered this incredible mystic, talking about the otherness of God. It is perhaps worth noting that actually at the time of his death, he was on trial for heresy. And there is this common aspect again that a lot of these mystics, a lot of these people who've had these experiences, it's quite threatening to people who are caught up in just the theory of what God is, or the theory about the religion. To have somebody coming with a direct experience and saying, hold on a second, it would be very threatening. Whether it was Meister Eckhart, Teresa of Avila, St. John of the Cross spent a lot of time in jail for heresy. It's not popular, but none of these people seem to care because the experience is worth it. In the Islamic tradition, people like Rumi and Hafiz, they have these incredible poems as ways to try and get you I think Hafiz has this poem about he's going to put the chair out for you to sit down, and then he's going to pull it out from underneath you so that you can fall into God. The idea being like he's going to try and lead you down the path with his poetry where you're thinking and you're sort of understanding and then he pulls the rug underneath where you can't understand anything, and what's left for him is your experience of God, or as he would say, the beloved. In Judaism, with Kabbalah and going back all the way, thousands of years ago, there were these aspects where they would use mantra meditation to get the mind very still and have these incredible experiences of transcendence, and that they felt as though they were just touching into the aspects of something of ultimate importance, of ultimate truth in those moments. Anyway, so it's across all traditions, across all of history. People are having these experiences today, and they talk about them, whether it's the Eckhart Tolles or the Byron Katie, or lots of people. Many people aren't talking about it because they know what happens to people who do talk about it. But there are examples in the modern day of people having these experiences and teaching. And general idea is like, okay, yes, you can have this experience too. You don't need an operator to connect you and tell you what this experience is. You can have this experience yourself. Now, as I said, I think we do owe a debt to some of the Eastern traditions because they've done a lot more experiments with these contemplative practices than perhaps we've done in the West. And our last meditation lends itself to Tibetan Buddhism, sometimes also done within the Indian tradition, within what's sometimes known as Hinduism, as known as Kundalini Yoga. But roughly speaking, what we're going to do is we're going to place our attention, instead of just placing it on the breath, we're going to place our attention on pieces of the body. Within their vernacular, within their metaphysics, they refer to these as energy centers or chakras. But I don't think it really matters whether you know about that metaphysics or chakras or energy centers or any of that stuff. It's irrelevant, I think. I think, personally, that's just their way of describing that somehow meditating on these spots seems to open different doorways of consciousness. Now, that might sound a little bit foo-foo, but let's just say different types of consciousness. Like there's a type of consciousness you have when you're in love. There's a type of consciousness you have when you get dumped. There's a type of consciousness you have when you get a promotion. There's a type of consciousness you have when you get fired. So I don't wish to sort of suggest that doorways of consciousness means like taking LSD or something like that. It's just that there are all these different aspects of consciousness and we get to experience them. But what these Buddhists and Hindus have suggested is that actually there are doorways to unlock certain aspects of these consciousnesses that perhaps get unlocked, in their opinion, by focusing on different parts of the body. And there are huge numbers of variations on these meditations. But tonight, we're just going to do something I've actually cooked up, although it's not just me, it's based on something else. It's just that normally I would do this to music, but YouTube being YouTube, I don't want to get slapped with copyright infringements, and they have these machines that go and check to see if you're using copyrighted music or something. So I'm afraid we're not going to use music, but we can still use mantra and the chakra meditation combined. So what I'd like you to do is to focus on this area about 1 inch below your belly button. Maybe it helps to just put your finger there right now and just feel that spot. And I don't want you to try and feel a chakra or an energy center or anything like that. I just want you to place your attention on that spot. And you're not going to try and make anything happen. You don't have to force this. The beauty of this technique is a couple of things. One is it works whether you feel anything there or not. And the other thing is that I believe, in my experience, this works whether you're aware of it or not. So you might do this, and this might be a cop-out. You might be saying, oh, it worked. Even if you think it didn't, it did. But trust me. So I want you to just to place your attention on that spot as if you were placing it on the breathing. You're not trying to make anything happen. You're just aware of that part of your body. And I'm sure there might be a part of your brain that's going, is this working? I don't know if this is working. I don't believe this, or whatever. I understand that. And that piece of your brain can have its little chit chat. But if you can, try to keep bringing your attention back to that spot and just go for it. And if it doesn't work, what have you got to lose? It's 15 minutes or something. Even less, 12 minutes, I think, total. So you're going to focus on that spot and just repeat your mantra. While you're focusing on that spot, just repeat whatever mantra you like. If you don't have a mantra, just repeat the syllable Om. Om. Personally, I love the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum. It's the first mantra I ever was taught. I was taught it in the Himalayas in a Tibetan monastery. So I sort of stuck with that throughout my life. But you don't have to use that. And if you don't like Om because it's all a bit too Eastern, just try I am enough. I am enough. And don't think about it. I don't want you going, oh yeah, I am enough. You know, my mother, she should know I am enough. Don't go there. Just try not to give it any meaning. Just say it over and over again. It doesn't have to have any meaning. In some ways, the repetition is just there as a distraction for the mind so that you can have this transcendent experience. And if you don't have the transcendent experience, don't worry about it. You might be having it without you realizing it. And just keep going. And if you're trying to have it, it probably won't happen. It's sort of one of those things where you just have to do the exercise. And then all of a sudden, at some point, you might suddenly go, holy cow, or some other word. I'm feeling something. And then, of course, when you think that, you lose it. But then you do it again, and you do it again. And slowly you'll get more and more comfortable with this slightly otherworldly experience. So anyway, we're just going to focus on that spot, repeating your mantra. 1 inch below your navel for 4 minutes. And I'll tell you where to change. And then right in the middle of your chest for 4 minutes, again repeating your mantra. And then between your eyebrows and very slightly above, again repeating your mantra. This is where I would say, are there any questions? But unfortunately, we're on a video camera, so I can't really take any questions. But just in case there are, I just invite you to do your best. Just go for it. Don't worry too much about it. If you don't like it, just go to mantra meditation or just go to the breath meditation, whatever works for you. But if you can, just do your best to hold your attention on the spot. And trust me, whatever's working is not working at the level of the conscious mind. This is the whole point of it, is we're trying to go underneath that. We're taking the helicopter to the top of the mountain to get a different view of reality. So this part, not involved. And I know this part is going to be evaluating and thinking and worrying and wondering if it's working, but it's not even along for the ride. So that's the theory anyway. So just do your best to try not to worry about it. Just go for it. Focusing on the spot, repeating your mantra. 1 inch below your navel, middle of the chest. Here, just do your best. Okay, so sitting up straight, comfortable but alert. Take a nice deep breath in. And let it out. And once again, nice deep breath in. This time letting it out very slowly. Releasing any tension. See if you can release any expectation. Just let everything fall away. Initially just focusing on your breathing. Bringing your attention into the present moment. And now bringing your attention to that spot, a very specific spot, just about 1 inch below your belly button. And if it helps to just put a finger there to feel it, that's fine. Just placing your attention there and just start hearing your mantra in the back of your mind over and over. Just allowing everything else to fall away. not trying to make anything happen. Your attention on that spot and hearing the repetition of your mantra. And you will, of course, from time to time, find that your mind is panicking or worrying or thinking or analyzing. That's fine. It's not screwing anything up. It doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. Just notice that it happened. Bring your attention back to the spot and your mantra. And start again. Over and over. We're just going to stay here for about 4 minutes. And take a deep breath in and let it out. And now moving our attention to the middle of our chest. Again, if it helps to put a finger there to start with, that's fine. Just placing your attention on that part of the body. We're not trying to do anything or make anything happen. Just placing the attention there and repeating your mantra. And when your mind hijacks your attention and takes it elsewhere, don't fret it. It's not a big deal. Just notice that it happened, as it will happen for the rest of your meditation career. And then bring your attention back to the middle of your chest and start repeating your mantra again. Now moving your attention between your eyebrows and very slightly above. Again, we're not trying to make anything happen. So just notice if you're worrying about that or thinking about that. Just try and do the exercise, placing your attention on that part of your body. Just repeating your mantra over and over. And take a deep breath in. And let it all the way out. Don't be in too much of a rush to think about this. We'll go back, straight back into normal way of thinking. See if you can transition from this evening's meditations back into the rest of your night, nice and gently. See if you can carry some of this into the rest of your night, maybe even into the rest of your week. Just making sure you're connected into your body, flexing your fingers, flexing your toes. Take another deep breath in and let it all the way out. When you're ready, open your eyes and connect yourself back into your room. So that's it. Thank you very much. I was talking to one of my partners at Real World Meditation, and who you probably don't know, his name's Jose. Jose is a fanatical martial artist. He's doing it decades. He's extraordinary. And he was telling a story about his teacher, that when his teacher was going to set up a martial arts school, he was given a piece of advice, which was the purpose of setting up a martial arts school is not to go and train new students. The purpose of setting up a martial arts school is to find training partners. And I like that. I thought it was a nice perspective. And it occurred to me for the last 12 weeks, and for many of you for several years now, you've been training partners with me. And I appreciate that. So thank you for joining me in this journey. 12 weeks, I hope it's given you a wide view of this meditation subject. I hope it's inspired you. I hope you've been doing some practice. I hope you'll continue to be inspired, and whatever's going on in your life, however bad it is, whatever's happening, or even however good it is, I hope you'll remember that you can always do some meditation. It'll always help. If you can do it regularly, it'll help a lot. If you just do it once in a while, it'll still help. So I hope you'll always remember this stuff. So it's 12 weeks. I will do a bonus week. I always do a bonus week. So I'll do another week. I'll do a class next Wednesday night, same time, same place. It won't be like this. It won't be a formal class. I won't give class or instruction about meditation or anything else. I will, however, we'll do some meditation. And I will talk a little bit about next steps, like in case you're interested. Talk about your own practice. Talk about what else. Where do you go next? What's next? Might talk about going on retreats. And for anybody who's interested, I'm thinking about, so hold the date, I haven't confirmed it yet. I need to sort out some logistics, but thinking about doing a one-day online retreat. And it'll actually be the following Wednesday. So it'll be Wednesday, July 1st. And it'll be sort of probably 9 till 6 or something like that. And we'll do it online. And we'll probably won't do it on YouTube, probably do it on Zoom. So that I can see you and take questions and all that kind of stuff. So just in case you're interested in a really intense one-day retreat, which is a whole lot less intensive than like a 10-day retreat or a 30-day retreat, but it might give you a flavor for what retreat is like. Hold that date of July 1st. And we'll still be doing meditations every morning for the next couple of weeks, or at least until the end of June. In the meantime, really like to thank you. Thank you for joining us on this journey. And congratulations. You made it. You made it through week 12. And if, like Donna, this is your first week, welcome. You made it just in time. You can always go back and look at the previous weeks. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a great week. Thanks.